twice later.
America's greatest country in the world. Good morning. Thanks for being here. Tom Homan is going to be here in just a few minutes. He was Trump's ICE director about a year and a half at the beginning of his term, and will/should be again, if not Homeland Security Director. So we could talk. He was 60 Minutes did a hit piece on him this weekend, so we'll talk about him just a minute. First, Karoline Leavitt is here from the Trump campaign, National Press Secretary. Karoline, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Great to talk to you. So, give us a little scheduling update about what is next here for the next 6 days. So, of course, we had the Madison Square Garden on Sunday, and now it is Tuesday. So, what do we got this last little stretch here?
Well, we got in at 2 a.m. last night from the great state of Georgia. We had a full day of campaigning in Georgia after Madison Square Garden on Sunday, which was an epic event. Today, President Trump is off to more states. He'll be in more states on Thursday. He's literally traveling all over the country, hitting every single battleground state. Pennsylvania, Georgia again, North Carolina, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin, all over the next 7 days. So it's a busy schedule. We've been doing this now for 60 days straight. The president has not taken one day off, and he won't be taking any time off between now and Election Day. We are laser focused on winning.
Not that none of that's great or special, but like, is there any other like Madison Square Garden like thing coming this weekend? Is there any other arenas? Any other noticeable thing like that?
Rally after rally after rally will be taking place in every state or every battleground state, and we'll be doing multiple rallies a day.
You said we got in at 2 a.m. What does in mean? In where?
Into home. We landed in Palm Beach last night, very late.
So does it always end at home, or does it just end at the nearest hotel of the last stop?
Well, for me and for many of our campaign team, we did relocate to Palm Beach. So Palm Beach is home for us now. So many of us have places here that we've lived in throughout the course of the campaign.
Really? So every night you guys go back to Florida?
Most nights. It depends, where we are in the country. If he's on the West Coast and doing an Arizona and Nevada thing, then typically he'll stay in Vegas at his hotel. If we're in Michigan or Wisconsin, sometimes we'll overnight in Chicago at Trump Hotel. Oftentimes we're in New York, like we were in New York, Saturday night and Sunday night. But many times, yes, we do return to Florida. It's President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago, and who doesn't like to sleep in their own bed, even if it's just for 4 hours?
I was going to say, yes, not. Is that worth it? Like, for even just 4 hours? Geez, that is a ridiculous schedule.
Well, it makes it a little easier, too, when you have your own plane. And Trump Force One is a comfortable ride.
Yeah, no, that's good. So Kamala's big speech is today, right? At the Ellipse. What is the symbolism here?
Yeah, Kamala giving her closing remarks today at the place where she thinks is the most effective for her campaign. I think we would respectfully disagree with that. I think going to a small business that's struggling or going to the southern border might be a better closing message, because that's what people actually care about. But Kamala's out of touch. Her closing message is that President Trump is a fascist, which is obviously not true. It's a lie. It's dangerous rhetoric. It's dividing the country. It's dishonest. Kamala doesn't even believe it. She just can't run on policy. She can't run on her record. She's been a disaster. So President Trump is actually giving remarks today at Mar-a-Lago, 10 o'clock this morning. He'll be speaking to the press and countering Kamala Harris's message before she gives it, and driving home the sharp contrast between him and his closing message, which is very simple. Kamala broke it. President Trump is going to fix it. She broke the border, broke our economy, broke our standing in the world. Only President Trump has the solutions, and you'll hear him talk about that at 10 o'clock this morning. I encourage everyone to tune in.
So is that a new, what would say, talking point? The mantra, or like the Kamala broke it, Trump will fix it? I just saw that ad. It was a great ad. We played it earlier. The image was perfect in it, and the messaging was perfect, spot on. 60 seconds, couldn't be better. Was that a new crafting, like a new final release here at the last couple days?
Yeah, look, it's the closing argument. I think it makes it very simple for voters, right? You can't really elect someone who created the problem in hopes that they will solve the problem. She has a chance to solve it right now. She's sitting, she and Joe Biden sit in the White House. They could craft policy. They could secure the border with the sign and the pen. They've refused to do so for 4 years now, and has allowed this open border invasion to continue. So Kamala is running to fix the country that she broke. and it just doesn't work. It's like hiring the arsonist to put out the fire. So it is our closing message, and we think it was a winning one based on polling, and President Trump, again, will be sharing that all over the country over the next 7 days.
So they're calling him Hitler stuff. We talked earlier about this New York Times article from the Future Forward PAC that says attacking Trump's fascism is not that persuasive. Also, Trump is exhausted, isn't working. So they can't find their legs in this last little bit. But on the calling him Hitler stuff, go ahead and speak to that.
I was just going to say, they're trying to convince people not to believe their own eyes. They've done this at the border. They did it with the economy. They said Bidenomics was working. They said the border was secure. Now they're trying to say that the president was exhausted. It's just total BS. People see him campaigning all over the country, holding massive rallies at Madison Square Garden and in every state. Their message is not based on reality, and that's why it's failing. That's my advice to them, but they're not going to take it.
Yeah, so I think it's this calling Trump Hitler thing. I think it's threefold. First, it's to scare voters. In the meantime, I think it's also a message. Hey, will someone just murder this guy already? Right? He's Hitler. Beat Bonhoeffer and just kill him. And then I think it's used to justify violence after the election. So maybe Trump can win, but we're never going to let Hitler actually in the Oval Office. That's insane from their perspective. What do you make of this?
I think you're spot on. It's all three of those. And I think it's disgusting. That's basically their closing pitch. And it's what the Democrat Party has turned into. The anti-Trump party, not the party that stands for anything. And they just stand against Donald Trump, and they spread these lies. And you know how they know it's lies and they don't actually believe themselves is because you look at Democrats in blue wall states, Michigan and Wisconsin and Minnesota, where President Trump is either leading or closing the gap. Democrats, though, in the Senate or the House in those states are running as pushing up to President Trump, saying that they work with him on legislation. You don't cozy up to Hitler, okay? And that's how you know they don't actually believe this lie. They are using it, as you said, to try to fear voters into voting for them because they can't convince them on sound policy. It's really quite sad, but it's very dangerous, and it's dividing our country, and it has already led to 2 assassination attempts on President Trump's life, which makes it all the world even worse.
Yeah, so someone had a funny line. I'm going to word it wrong. There's something like, they don't really think he's Hitler, because if they did, they'd vote for him. With all the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas people, they wish Hitler were in, right? They're voting for the people who want to kill all the Jews in Israel, so or they're supporting those efforts in the Middle East. You mentioned these battleground states. Joe Biden won New Hampshire by 7 points in 2020, and there's a new poll that has New Hampshire tied right now. So add New Hampshire to the list here. But more important than New Hampshire, Karoline Leavitt, Press Secretary Donald Trump, what are the president's thoughts on Puerto Rico?
Well, first thing on New Hampshire, nothing's more important than New Hampshire. To me, it's my home state, and I'm so excited to see the polling, by the way. The president is very excited about the state of the race in New Hampshire. We did a big tele rally there yesterday, calling thousands of voters directly with President Trump live on the line. He was encouraging them to get out to vote. This was, by the way, in between stops in Georgia, in the motorcade, on the way. He did another telephone town hall last night at 10:30 p.m. The man literally never stops working. So look, as for Puerto Rico, I was there at Madison Square Garden. It was a joke made by a comedian. It fell flat because it was Devin Forte's. Obviously, the joke does not reflect the views of the campaign or President Trump. But again, it was a joke made by a comedian. The rest of the night was filled with amazing speakers. RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Tucker Carlson, Dana White, the president's friends and family, congressmen and women, Senator J.D. Vance, all there talking about how important it is to re-elect President Trump. It was a diverse crowd of people. Puerto Ricans were there, and many other Hispanic Americans were there, Black Americans, Jewish Americans, there were Arab Americans and Muslims. I mean, it was truly a broad coalition, proving the broad coalition that President Trump has built in his campaign. And I think the people that were in the room that night understood that it was just a joke. And while it fell flat, it has no reflection of President Trump or his views. The media is making this into something because they want it to turn into something, because they have nothing else to talk about. They don't want to talk about the real issues impacting people's lives in Kamala Harris's America.
Literally all they talked about on cable news was Australia. And they brought in AOC. AOC's been really silent this entire campaign. And they brought her in because she's Puerto Rican, so let's bring in a Puerto Rican person to talk about how horrible encompasses what was said at the Trump rally. And then the other one that they're using is Grant Cardone said we need to slaughter these people.
We need to slaughter these other people. We need to bring 100 million votes to Donald Trump.
These people, it's unbelievable that there's no human being alive who would hear Grant Cardone say we need to slaughter these people clearly within the context of getting more votes and conclude, oh, there's the fascists, there's the fascism, there's the Nazism right there wide in the open. What is wrong with these people?
Take everything that President Trump and people say out of context. I mean, you saw with the bloodbath. What bloodbath hoax? President Trump was referring to the auto industry. They tried to say that he wanted to create a bloodbath. Again, it goes back to fear. Fear is their tactic. Division is their tactic. Dividing people based on race and gender works for them because that's the only way they can get people out to the polls and vote for them. Because again, their policies are horrible. But again, the media wants to talk about this stuff all day. We are keeping focused on bringing our message to voters because when you look at the polling, President Trump is more popular today in 2024 than he's ever been since 2016. And despite all of the lies and all of the hoaxes and all of the times the fake news has taken him out of context over the years.
Last question for CNN, their guy, their poll guy, talking about some polls of voter enthusiasm. And he said that among those who are extremely motivated to vote, in 2020 it was 73%. 73% were extremely motivated. And he said today it's 65%. So an 8-point drop in those who are extremely motivated. I don't know what that means. I guess the question is who, if that was true, who are the people who are less motivated? Are they disaffected Republicans, disaffected Democrats, independents? Who do you think are the people who are not as motivated?
Well, I would say Democrats. I mean, how can you be motivated for someone who you didn't even vote for? You never had a chance to cast a vote for in a primary. Kamala Harris was just handed this job after the Democrat Party staged a coup against the incumbent president, Joe Biden. And she's been a train wreck of a candidate. You see the enthusiasm for President Trump everywhere we go, and it also is reflected in early voting. We are leading the early vote in North Carolina. It's been a 19-point swing to Republicans since 2020. There's been a 20-point swing in early voting in Pennsylvania for Republicans. Republicans are dominating the early vote in Nevada on the first day of early voting in Clark County, which is obviously a must-win. Republicans led by 19 points. And so we're seeing this again, this trend in every battleground state that Republicans are heeding President Trump's call to get out, to vote early, to stake their vote, and to give them more time to encourage other Americans to do the same. So I think the early voting metrics show the enthusiasm for President Trump. People are excited to get to the polls and cast their ballot for him. In 7 days, we're very confident we're going to win this election. So I'll tell you, there's a lot of enthusiasm at Trump campaign headquarters right now. When vibes are good, we're not taking anything for granted. We're going to win, and we're going to run through the tape.
Can people still volunteer and help? And I ask that because someone sent me this in Detroit. Local DJs bring the soundtrack at Michigan polls on November 5th. And it's all those DJs who are going to be at different polling locations. It lists them all in their locations and everything, playing loud music near the polling stations to get people out to the polls, right? Like, oh, that's pretty interesting, actually, and probably not illegal. There's certain things you can't do near polling stations, but you can play music, have a big party, and get people out, right? So it's pretty interesting. And it's like, oh man, do Republicans have a ground game? Like, we never really have. We've never done a good job. We've never really executed that. So are you confident with that / is there still opportunity for people to help with that?
100%. And we have, I would say, the best ground game in the business. The media, again, they don't give us credit for it. But we have totally transformed what the ground game looked like in 2020, which obviously did not work, right? So now it's data-driven and it's people-powered. And we have trained more than 20,000 captains. See, again, we have hundreds of thousands of volunteers, but we have specifically 20,000 captains in battleground states across the country whose sole focus for the last several months and for the next 7 days has been to bring their friends and family out to the polls in their targeted areas, their neighbors, in their respective communities. So we have real people on the ground that live in these communities that are doing that work for us, rather than just having paid door knockers knock on the door and say, oh, we knocked on this many doors. Well, how many people actually answered those doors, right? You can't just knock on a door and say that's a success. You actually have to convert these voters and make them believe that they need to vote for President Trump, or convince them to believe to vote for President Trump, and then convince them to get out and vote. We've done a very good job, I would say, as well, at voter education, again, on early voting, and seeing that payoff in the metrics. So we are very confident that our ground game is going to prove victorious on November 5th, despite what the fake news media may be saying. And by the way, Kamala Harris claims she has hundreds of thousands of volunteers. It's just not true. There's no feasible way she could have done that in 70 days. If she's counting every single person who signed up on her website for a free t-shirt or for a press release. Those aren't real volunteers. We have actual bodies that are moving and working on the ground and checking in with our people every single night to let us know how many voters they talked to, spoke to. That information is vetted. So we're very confident in our data this election cycle, which is a change from the past.
Can people still help in that effort?
Of course, TrumpForce47.com. Please go online, sign up to vote. And by the way, to anyone listening who may not know how to register to vote or how to early vote in your respective state, or don't know the laws in your state, you can go to swampthevoteusa.com, and that's a website we created to help with voter education.
So you're in Florida right now. Where are you going right now? Were you today? What's your next stop?
Mar-a-Lago for the press conference at 10 a.m. It's going to be great. President Trump has a big interview that he's actually taping right before. Not at liberty to share that yet, but stay tuned. It's going to be a very busy day. We're already started. We got in at 2 a.m. We already begun the day, and we won't be until very late again tonight. But we're all hands on deck and running through the Cape, like I said, for November 5th.
Karoline Leavitt, Trump 2024 National Press Secretary. Good to talk to you, Caroline. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Don't know how Trump does it. I don't know how anyone does the schedule. It sounds insane. On the knocking on doors, we spent the first half hour of the show talking about this. A New York Times article, short on time, Harris's labor allies sprint to reach working class voters. So that's one of the reasons she claims she has so many people knocking on her doors. It's all the unions. Unions and their affiliates think they can break through the Democrats' worst demographic, white working class voters, by hustling on the ground, but it has been a slog. This is the New York Times. And we went on the long with the again, but the point is it's not going well for them. And they get paid. So you get paid $20 an hour if you knock on, excuse me, so $20 an hour. If you work 5 days a week, you get paid $25 an hour. And if you knock on 33 doors, you get bumped to $30 an hour. But you have to knock on the doors and you have to ask 4 questions. And the article is about how these people